to speak with the Director, Communication in Advocacy from the Ministry of Primary Education, that is Mr. Ndoro, to find out more in terms of what is the position of the law, what can be done, and to understand this more, we are now joined by Mr. Ndoro. Mr. Ndoro, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Like you've seen in the first and second segment, let's now focus more on what the law says in as far as schools that are producing uniforms or schools that are selling uniforms. Are they allowed to force parents only to buy at their school?
Yes, the government position, particularly the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education's position, is that schools are allowed to enter into commercial ventures as promulgated by a cabinet resolution in April of 2021. So they can go into business and they can sell uniforms, they can be productive, but then they are in competition with the market, then they are then guided by the Competitions Act, which then says there should be no monopoly. So if a uniform, for argument's sake, goes for $8 at the school, and in the market it's costing $6, parents are supposed to purchase the uniform where they feel it is cheaper for them to purchase the uniform. Now, if the school feels that it is in competition, which it is supposed to feel, then it should make the price of the uniform cheaper. And then maybe if the uniform is $5 at the school, the parent is no longer coerced to go and buy at the school. They just go and buy because it is cheaper to do so at the school. What we are against as the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education is the monopolization of selling uniforms, the monopolization of saying this is the sole supplier of a uniform, and yet you are in competition, you are in the market with other players who are also producing the same type of goods, whether it's stationery, it's uniform, for us to have a quality education. So there is no school that is allowed to force any parent to purchase uniforms at their very school. The school should actually make it very convenient for parents and guardians to be able or to want to buy the uniform at their school.
So what happens then in case we've got a school that you're talking about forcing parents to buy? What are the measures that can be taken by the responsible authorities? In this case, you are the responsible ministry.
Yes, the responsible ministry is not going to deter in charging any school head that is seen to be perpetrating this abuse of office. And responsible authorities, whether they are schools, church schools or faith-based schools, whether they are government, public or private or non-governmental schools, if they do not adhere to government directives, they are going to be sanctioned very severely. There are a lot of regulations that we can use, especially the public service regulations for all public schools. The school head will be answerable. And obviously we've got the long arm of the law that will catch you under the Competitions Act if you continue to violate the Competitions Act.
Given that you've seen a case in Gweru, and I'm wondering, this might not only be happening in Gweru, as your ministry, are there any proactive efforts you are putting on ground to ensure that you get to find out more schools which are doing the similar activities we've seen in Gweru?
Yes, as a ministry, we are working with, we've got command centers. Our command centers throughout our 72 districts have got focal persons in all the 72 districts, and we get information from parents, and we send our district schools inspectors, our schools inspectors, to monitor the situation on the ground. I am pleased that most of our schools, we've got about 10,517 schools. I can guarantee you over 90% of our schools comply with ministry directives. It's only a few, just a handful of schools where we've got some errant headmasters that continue to defy ministry directives.
As we round off for this episode, Mr. Ndoro, to parents who are watching you, who are wondering what are they going to be doing next year, are there any special words you'd want to share with the Zimbabweans?
Yes, of course. The last one, obviously, just for information's sake, we should also understand that Zimbabwe is a multi-currency regime, and the Zimbabwe dollar is a legal tender in this currency, in this country. Therefore, there is no school that is allowed to charge exclusively in United States dollars. We want all parents and guardians to be aware of that. We also want all school heads to be aware of that a parent may come and pay with a currency of their choice. If they have free funds, they may pay at the prevailing interbank rate of the day that they pay the school fees. So please let us adhere to the laws of the country so that we are able to build our country brick by brick, stone upon stone, as we envisage to have an empowered and prosperous middle income economy by 2030.
And these are the words coming through from Mr. Ndoro, explaining that this is what the law says, and they've read it for yourselves. If there are schools that are coercing parents to buy uniforms, to buy stationery at their particular school, it is not allowed. And as you have seen in the first and second segment, we saw what was happening in our Midlands province in Gweru. And I know in your various provinces, this might be affecting you as well. You can always get in touch with the ministry on their WhatsApp numbers, on their Facebook pages to complain, and as well as raise the issues that are affecting you. That's all we had for you on this particular special segment. From myself, Ian Wambe, the entire crew behind the scenes. Stay tuned to ZBC TV.